Hello and welcome back to the 2025 Brewster Ridge Open driven by Innova. It is currently round 2 of this 3-round Q Series event up in Jeffersonville. We're going to be over to the Brewster Ridge course today. As always, I'm Emily Dale, joined by Nathan Johnson.
Yeah, hey, I'm very excited to keep this tournament rolling. We're over at the Brewster Ridge course today. Paul Krans got out to a hot start at Fox Run with a 7 under par first round. He'll be joined by Sage Tanner, David Fleck, and Gavin Cunningham here on our lead card for round 2. Built himself up a pretty nice lead with a 4-stroke cushion, but out here in the woods of Brewster Ridge, anything can happen.
That is true, and we have some new faces on the card for coverage as far as this media channel goes, so excited to see how they play.
Yeah, always fun to get a first look at somebody. Taking a look at hole 1, 320 foot par 3. Pretty wide fairway for this course, fading back to the right at the
welcome
end.
To day 2 of the Brewster Ridge Open. This is our lead card and MPO. Leading things off at 7 under par, our 2023 Bro Champ. He's representing MVPs from Dudley, Mass, Paul Krans.
How fun is it to call yourself a Bro Champ?
That's nothing more I would like to be than a Bro Champ. Paul Krans, not a lot of bro vibes though, pretty, just quiet, respectful kid, keeps to himself. Not really a bro, but he is a Bro Champ. Gonna go with the forehand here on hole 1. This is looking like a great line if it can check up in time.
Thank you.
And it does.
Next on the tee, he's from Falmouth, Maine. He's 3 under par. Welcome, Sage Tanner.
So like I said, first time on coverage, definitely more of a local to the area. Looks like we're going to see some backhand lines from Sage.
Yeah, this kind of slow drifting backhand works well on hole 1 as well. The movement to the right is very subtle at the end of the flight. That one catches the last tree on the edge, though. He's going to have a long birdie putt.
Next up, he's 2 under par, and he's from Woodstock, Connecticut. David Fleck.
Another New England disc golf local. We did see David Fleck back in 2024 with some Warwick coverage over on Heiser Media. Go check it out.
Yeah, always is. Making sure Fleck stops by all his favorite Northeast disc golf tournaments every year. See him out quite a bit. Nice shot from him.
He's also at 2 under par. He's from Muskegon, Michigan. Gavin Cunningham.
Loving the shirt from Gavin.
I was
Very
just
colorful.
going to say that. They're dinosaurs.
Those dinosaurs? Nice.
Yes.
Love to see it.
Shout out to Jurassic World coming out next week.
We're doing movie ads now on covers? That's crazy. Wow, we've really
I love
upgraded.
dinosaurs. Leave me alone.
It was a good-looking shot there from Gavin. Caught a late tree as well. So a couple of long birdie putts, couple of park jobs from our lead card to start off. See if Sage can drain one from deep to get his round started.
A little too much Heiser. Yep.
Worth noting that the path behind the basket is out of bounds, so it's about 25 feet long. You don't want to do anything too crazy. Nice confident putt for Gavin Cunningham to start his round with a birdie, draining that one from circle's edge.
Yeah, that's a great way to start your round. Although, I mean, you might be happier with the park job, but feeling that putting confidence is a good way to get things rolling here.
Yeah, I think off the tee you'd like the park job, but after you make the 30-footer, that's the ultimate confidence booster to carry the momentum forward. Good putt from Paul as well, able to keep his lead, or actually is going to extend it over his nearest competitor. And if Fleck's able to connect here, we're going to have a nice little 3-way tie for second after hole 1, and he does.
Yeah, there's a lot of players currently in that 2 or 3 down range, so definitely a lot of jockeying I think we're going to see here on moving day.
yeah, plenty of opportunities for score separation here in the woods at Brewster. So it'll be fun to watch heading into hole 2, 550-foot par 4. We begin the descent up the hill. Basically, the entire front 9 is uphill and the entire back 9 is downhill. Players are going to look to just throw something dead straight off the tee, most likely a fairway driver. Give themselves some sort of look to throw, most likely a forehand into the green, since it does bend back to the right a little bit. You're going to want to be careful of that out of bounds rock wall that lines the entire right side of the fairway.
And this is pretty much exactly what you're talking about there. Being over on that left-hand side is not as bad as being pinched off over on the right.
Yeah, the right side trees just make it so scary to throw the second shot, whereas like where Paul is, he has to kind of work a flex forehand, most likely, that moves left and then back to the right, but it is definitely a shot that all of these guys most likely have. Fleck kind of in a similar spot, maybe a little bit shorter. We'll see what he decides to work with from there.
This is working that right-hand side of the fairway. It does get caught up a little bit, but I don't think that should be too big of a deal. Have a patent pending out.
Yeah, the right side is kind of a coin flip depending on what your lie ends up looking like. You can end up in a great spot. You can end up in an absolutely horrible spot and just have to pitch out. This one is not looking good out of the hand from Sage. That is pulled and does kick into that out of bounds. So he's going to be in a tough spot here now, having to play up from that right side, and looks like he went up pretty early still, so would be a very impressive par save. Probably would have to have a throw in if he's going to find a way to save it.
And here's that technical forehand shot that you were talking about. This one, like you said, it's on the further side. Because it got caught up in the trees, didn't really have the height to make the flight pattern that he needed there.
Yeah, I think Fleck was just trying to lay up, but kind of got a weird rollout, so he might still have a pretty difficult up and down from there.
Nice shot.
Awkward patent pending, like you mentioned, for Gavin, but throws it really well. Might have a long look from there, or worst case scenario, a pretty straightforward pitch up for par. That was a great shot.
This is more commonly what you see if you end up on like the more shallow side of the right-hand fairway.
Mm-hmm.
Or left-hand, sorry. Directions are hard sometimes.
Yeah, no, I knew what you were going for. It was
Picking up what I'm
not
putting
a
down.
bad shot from Paul. He kind of burned it over a little bit, but not a bad result. This one from Sage is just catches one of those late trees to leave him in circle 2. And yeah, I don't know. Fleck's got like a wall of trees in front of him. I would not be surprised if we see like a flick roller or some very, oh wow, just a layup maybe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a good play just to get himself back into the fairway in the open.
Yeah, essentially just conceding bogey at best now. Not really an upshot you want to try to make. Just going to put it under the bucket and walk away with the bogey.
And looks like Cunningham's just settling for the par here. Not giving that too much of a run.
Long birdie look for Krans. Does come up a bit short. He made a couple long circle 2 putts during round 1. Helped him get to that 7 under mark. This is a long look for bogey for Tanner is just a bit off. So a couple big numbers coming now for our card. Hole 2 starting to show why this course just has so much teeth. These holes you got to be very precise on your shots and keep them in the fairway. It's hard to scramble and bite off a lot of distance once you kick off the fairway just because the rough is so thick. So you can get yourself into trouble quickly if you're not hitting your initial lines off the tee. as we kind of saw here on our lead card, I should say, on hole 2. Taking a look at hole 3 now, 320-foot par 3. Blind shot. You cannot see the basket from the tee pad. It goes up and over this hill. Most players are going to throw some sort of stable right-hand backhand that fades back to the left at the end. Distance control is important on a hole like this where you don't really know exactly where the basket is, so you got to make sure to get out here. Throw a couple different discs in practice and figure out, what speed is right for you. It can be a fairway driver or a mid-range depending on arm speed.
And this is looking good. It just needed to fight back a little bit more. However, that actually is fine. Deceiving.
Yeah, a little bit deceiving on this one. The ground play can be pretty helpful in getting that little bit of extra fade on this one. This looks a little early from Gavin, but no, I'm wrong too. What do we know?
This hole is just throwing us for a loop. But both of these shots were great. It did look early, but it kept itself straight enough that it was able to get right up under the pin.
Yeah, this basket can also be dangerous if you're coming up short with that little bit of elevation and built up green. If you're kind of in that 40-foot range, players might decide to lay up that putt just to avoid having a circle's edge comebacker for par. But so far, everybody hitting that gap, giving themselves very makeable birdie putts. Let's see if Sage can bounce back from that double bogey and do the same here. Just a bit of an early release, catches that tree on the left side.
Yeah, still looking at a blind shot there, but a great execution that's going to get him a good par save and some confidence back.
Yeah, hopefully he can use that to build some momentum. Tricky putt for Paul. He's got to straddle out around this tree, looking to bend it in at the end. Misses it just a bit high.
Thankfully it doesn't go too far, and he's able to close out the par here.
Yeah, good strong comeback putt there. That's one that can get away from you on this hole with the slopey green. Can be doing the back and forth thing a couple times if you're not careful. Short birdie putts though for yeah, the back and forth thing is not anyone's favorite game. Nice birdie for Gavin. Nice birdie for Fleck. Picking up a stroke on the leader.
Yeah, good scramble there for Sage.
Yeah, as we take a look at the leaderboard, Paul Krans still leading the way, but, guys are starting to make some moves. Austin Bates with a 3 down through 3 start, moving himself up the leaderboard nicely. As we head into hole 4, a 465-foot par 4. Kind of similar shape to hole 2. Players are looking to throw a slightly left to right moving shot off the tee to set themselves up for a backhand into this green. I would call this hole almost the reverse of hole 2, even though the shape is similar, but kind of flipped. So big backhand turnover off the tee will bite off a lot of distance and hopefully give you a good shot at the birdie.
Good shot shape there from Fleck. Gets him in the open still.
Yeah, looked like a good line, maybe just a little bit low, so didn't quite bite off as much distance as he would have liked.
Yeah, it's hard to commit to that with the ceiling, although it looks like here's a good example of that commitment. Getting him a much fuller flight. He'll be stuck over there in those little twiggly trees, but should be able to work with it.
Yeah, those twigglies make it difficult to attack this green because it's a very specific shape that you got to throw into this green to access it with the kind of rock wall that's built up, and there's a couple guardian trees. So you'd like to be central or left, kind of right where Sage is here. He's in a pretty ideal spot, just has a bit of a longer distance into the green. So let's see what he can do with it.
It does check up. It'll just be some awkward footing for him there.
Yeah, just kind of hiding behind that rock wall. We'll have a long look at it.
And like you mentioned, that's going to be something common that you see, kind of just using that as a backstop on that second shot and giving a long look for birdie.
Yeah, and remember, keep in mind, the whole front nine, every single hill is significantly more uphill than the camera shows, right? So you see 465, you're like, this is a par 4. Why are these guys still so far out? This hole has like 40 feet of elevation gain, right? So these shots are playing much longer than the distances, obviously. And obviously, that's what gives this hole its teeth. Paul, with a bit of an early release there, going to put him in a very difficult spot to scramble and save his par.
A little bit of an early release there is going to hyzer out into those woods. That's going to be tough to get out of. It's pretty tight back there.
Yeah, a lot of leaves and branches, not a lot of discs are ending up back there, so will most likely be a bogey coming up for Gavin. Good upshot for Paul to give himself a good shot at saving the par. But another chance here for Fleck to gain a stroke on our leader. He's got a long birdie look from maybe 50 or 60 feet.
Oh, great run there.
Yeah, great effort uphill over the wall.
Through the woods.
Sage kind of in a similar spot, but these two trees are definitely in the way. So nobody able to connect on the deep looks. Paul now, he's got maybe a 25-footer to save his par. That is a really nice putt. An important putt to keep his round clean. He's been kind of scrambling here on the last couple of holes, but able to keep it under control and save those pars. There's going to be a lot of those opportunities on this course where you throw a nice tee shot on a par 4 and then maybe are in a kind of awkward second shot, not really an ideal landing zone, and have to find a way to just make it work and keep moving yourself up the fairway and keep yourself in position to save a par. Hopefully that doesn't happen to any of our players on this hole. Hole 5, 300-foot par 3. You got the OB rock wall on the left. Hole fades downhill towards the basket to the right at the end. This is a pretty stock, forehand hole for most of these players if they've got it. Fleck's going to try to show us that with a nice overstable fairway driver here.
This was just a little bit early, but thankfully hits pretty square. Doesn't get any terrible kicks into oblivion there, which happens pretty easily.
This looks like a great line from Paul. You really want to push it a little bit straighter than it looks off the tee as he skips right by the basket. Going to have an uphill birdie putt coming back.
Looks like Sage is going with a backhand line. It's tough to get that angle correct. But that's a look.
Yeah, not a bad result. The backhand line has to get a little skinny through the inside because you really can't. It would be very impressive to get a backhand to turn that late into the flight. And am I going to be proven wrong again? As I say, it can't be done. Okay, Gavin, that one kind of just goes straight, which is fine. He's going to have like a downhill 40-footer from there. I thought that was going to be right. That would have been crazy if he just parked it with the backhand right on cue. But that'll be a stress-free par for Fleck, just pitching up there.
Oh, I mean, he makes good on it. So, I mean, I still think he proved you wrong. So, just because. Good birdie there from Cunningham.
Yeah. What a great putt. Downhill, a little bit of a death putt if you airball or skip off the basket in any way, but not a problem for him. He's got a pretty great start going so far. Sage still looking for his first birdie of the round. He's got a decent look here.
Good line, just a little deep. And Paul,
I feel like every single putt Paul has had so far has been a straddle putt. He's had the tree in his way almost every time.
I mean, to be fair,
which is not uncommon out here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it is the woods, the New England's woods. There do be trees.
There do be trees. The trees do be treeing. Couple pars, couple birdies for our card on hole 5. Definitely one of the more scoreable par 3s on this course. Is a pretty stock line, stock shot that most players have nowadays in the modern game. Short par putt for Sage, about a 15-footer able to connect.
As we see, this did play as one of our easier holes. This is one that you really are wanting to get as the bird.
Definitely. Hole 6, also a very gettable hole, kind of the opposite shape of the hole we just played. 345-foot par 3 down and to the left. It does play much shorter than this, though, with that little bit of downhill slope at the end. So you can kind of just throw a nice straight to stable putter and let the finish of the disc carry it down all the way to the basket.
You do have some OB deep, though, so getting too much air on it can get you such trouble. This is looking good here. So I can check up.
Yeah, kind of a weird route that it hit at the end of the flight. I think that was going to be parked, but Paul ends up coming up maybe 25, 30 feet short.
A little too much hyzer on that. That'll be a little tricky position for Cunningham.
Yeah, and that one's just wide for Fleck. Kicks left. He'll be scrambling over there as well. See if Sage can find the fairway here. This
I like
one's
this
a little
line.
low, but if it gets some ground play, it could be good.
Yeah, taking more of that line drive, playing for that hard pan to get movement up to the basket, and just look at, like you said in the very beginning, anything off fairway here is just brutal. And although that was a great execution of a shot to scramble, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it gets all the way down there, just kind of faded out at the end, but a 40-footer from there is not a bad result by any means. Just to give yourself a look here from the short left side is a great shot. Gavin trying to do the same. Doesn't really get the skip he was looking for. He's also going to be in that 40-foot range. Kind of a similar putt to the one he just made on the last hole. Wow.
He likes them.
Yeah,
Great
that is Kid's on a heater right now. That is, let's take another look at it. Why not? 45-footer, just staring right at it. Confident look.
It is not as easy as that looked for him.
Heavy chains for Fleck. Not able to get it to stick, so he's going to drop a stroke there. Back to even par for the round. Sage looking for his first birdie from about circle's edge.
Count it. Pizza pie.
We get a floater. What do you call that? What do you call it when the putt just like hangs in the chains like that? Is there a name for it?
I said pizza pie. A floater makes me think of other things.
UFO?
That's okay. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I'll try to brainstorm some more family-friendly options. Paul, birdie putt of his own, able to connect. 3 down start for him. Not letting his foot off the gas at all after that fire round 1. Is coming out still pretty hot in round 2.
Do a quick check-in here to see how the rest of the field is doing out in Brewster, as we see a hot round with down 4 from Axel Olsen. Still 5 back though from Paul, so a lot of work to be done out here.
Yeah, and definitely opportunities for scoring throughout. As we take a look at hole 7, 575-foot par 4. A couple different ways to play this hole. You can either go the way the drone is flying, which is a straight first shot and then playing up the backside of this fairway. I don't see this line taken too much. You're going to see a lot more players try to cut the corner. There's an inside hyzer gap that you can take off the tee, which will kind of get you farther up the hill on your first shot and maybe make that second shot a little bit easier. Although Paul is going to maybe prove me wrong. He's going for the straight shot off the tee.
Looks like it drifted a little too far right, but I like the line of that if it held and hyzered back a little bit. Unfortunately, she clipped early down the fairway. This is on the right-hand side too, but I think it might have some fight back. Hard to tell. Might get it caught up there.
Yeah, this is a shot that kind of needs to be moving left the whole way with the shape of the fairway. But it's difficult to get that angle exactly right. Yeah, that does look great. Yeah, near perfect shot for Cunningham there. Finds the backside gap. That'll set him up well. Nice looking angle for Fleck. Yeah, that's almost identical landing zones there for Fleck and Cunningham. We'll see what kind of looks they have into the green. Tough lie there for Sage. Just kind of pitches out with not much on the backside.
And that's going to be a tough scramble to save par there for Krans.
Yeah, kind of turnover backhand, something like that. He's lining up the hill. Try to just give himself a look into the green. Not a terrible shot. It's a long look for par, but at least, giving himself a chance.
A little bit of a late kick. I think that was probably going to be right up under the basket if he didn't have that little tree kiss, but we'll have a long look at it as well. And this is looking pretty ideal.
Yeah, surprised Fleck with the standstill there. Still had a pretty good amount of distance on that shot up the hill. So he comes up a bit short, but we'll definitely have a putt And this is an attempt at an up and down for Tanner that is well thrown, so he's going to have a short putt for his par.
Here's the bid to save part. It looked great. Great attempt there. Unfortunately, just a little bit off, and I'll have to settle for bogey here. First bogey of the day.
Yeah, I thought Paul had that one. Just danced on the rim for a sec before dropping out. Long bogey look for Gavin, and he knocks another one down. Oh my goodness. What a start. That's like 100 feet of putts in the last 3 holes.
And all slightly downhill, so they're scary putts.
Yeah, that one was all of 50, 60 feet. Just stand still, dropped it in. Wow.
Little of a comeback here for Fleck. And unfortunately, the good old Birdogey.
Yeah, there's some of the baskets on this course are kind of sneakily elevated, right? Where it's not that standard like Pro Tour style of whatever they call those, like boxes they put around the baskets, but they have these kind of built up greens where it kind of plays like a mound that you can't really land the disc on. But if you have that circle 2 putt, it can punish you for not catching metal. So tough result for Fleck with the Birdogey. Paul Krans going to take a bogey as well and drop a stroke. So everybody on our lead card kind of getting a little bit closer to the field, with the exception of Gavin Cunningham, who continues to knock down deep putts and make a push for this title. Hole 8 is a 830-foot monster of a par 5, uphill the entire way. You're looking to bite off a good chunk off the tee with a slowly drifting right to left to right moving backhand. And then after that, it's just like make as much forward progress as you can, because it is very dependent on your lie and your footing. And since it is so uphill, it can be hard to get a nice clean run up. So throwing a good tee shot on this hole is so important in order to give yourself any sort of chance of having a good score on this hole.
And this is looking like a perfect tee shot. Gets himself in the middle of the fairway in the open. Good footing.
Yeah, and there's like kind of a flat part right there too. So if you can pure it like Gavin did, I mean, that was an incredible shot. And he is going to set himself up so well from there.
A little bit inside here from Sage, but he does get lucky and continues to push up the fairway. He'll definitely be in the rough over there on the right-hand side, but I think he got much further than he probably thought he was going to from that tee shot.
Oh, yeah, that could have been a lot worse over on that right-hand side. Paul, this is looking great if it holds the angle.
Yeah, right up there next to Gavin.
Yeah, great spot. Great spot to be in for Paul. This is such a tough shot. Very hard to get the angle on this right. With that uphill, you're throwing a hyzer flip to drift shot. Really got to understand the flight of your disc well to match that stability.
Also, throwing this colored disc in
bold
these
strategy.
woods is a baller move. You're saying, I know where this is going.
Yeah, but does get caught up fairly early for Fleck on the right-hand side. So he's basically going to pitch this forehand to where those other guys are, maybe get a little bit past them to be back in position. That's a nice scramble shot to get him, at least give him a chance to still play for par. This lie does not look fun.
Did he kind of hug the tree with that? Wrapped around. I mean, you can see why this hole is playing as the hardest hole of the day. It just feels like you're fighting your entire way down the fairway if you're off at all.
Yeah, and it's a tough decision to make whether you want to take your medicine and just jump putt on a 830-foot hole or try to bite off a little bit more. That's kind of where the trouble comes into play and the big numbers come into play. So hole doesn't look that bad when you throw 2 shots like Paul just did and have a clean lie and clean footing. But once you're a little bit off and have a tree in your way, the big numbers come up quick. Let's see if Gavin can continue to play this hole cleanly. That looks like a very nice shot for him.
He and Paul are just kind of going tit for tat there, landing right next to each other once again.
Yep, a little bit of cart golf. Fleck was just maybe 50 feet or so in front of those two drives, so it's going to look to do something similar, but that is an early release.
Yeah, so you see very different results from our players who kind of made that initial shot off the tee, like you were saying, versus the ones who were kind of in scramble mode from the start.
Yeah, and they're going to be in scramble mode the rest of the way, unfortunately. Fleck's now over here on the left side of the fairway, just trying to bite as much off as he can with that flex forehand. That's a good result. Puts him in the middle. He should be able to get up and down from there with a well-thrown shot, probably in the 200-foot range. This one is looking more like high 200s to mid 300s as far as playable distance goes, just because of that difficult uphill. And there are so many late guardian trees on the screen too that just, you can throw 2 great shots and still not get up and down for birdie, which can be kind of demoralizing. Paul looking to give himself a look and gets to pin high, but leaks a little right.
Yeah, a little bit of elevation over there on the right-hand side. It can get squirrely with some rollaways, but I think he stayed up on top.
Little slip, I think, from Gavin. Just pulled it a tad.
And you're kicking yourself after those 2 perfect shots to be left with still having to just kind of get up and down for par now.
Yeah, it might not be an easy up and down depending on what his lie looks like, and he has to go to the patent pending, most likely through still a pretty small gap over here. But he throws it very well, and a nice little backstop there to keep him close. That was nice of that. Nice of that tree to give him some love back.
The trees giveth and the trees taketh away.
Yep, never fails. Fleck looking for an up and down to save a bogey. That should be a makeable putt from about 22 feet. Long look now for Sage. Looking for a 7 and just high.
Here's the only birdie look of our card here. And he makes good on it. Of note, there were only 3 birdies on hole 8 in round 2. One of them, our gentleman here, Paul Krans, also joined by Ethan Hine and Coleman Marcus.
Yeah, that's a great pickup. Paul making his from about 40 feet over there in the woods. This is a bogey putt for Fleck, just at the edge of the circle.
Yeah, good bogey save. Stop the bleed.
Yeah, 3 bogeys in a row now for Fleck after pretty good start. 1 down through 5. Nothing you're complaining about here at Brewster, but starting to leak some strokes. Pretty stress-free par for Gavin after some really solid shots, and the big number, unfortunately, for Sage, just showing you just why this hole and this course is so difficult. But the good news is we are at the top of the hill, so it's almost all literally downhill from here. Starting with hole 9, 375-foot par 3. Player's going to go probably mid-range off the tee, maybe putter, just something that pushes straight the whole way and floats nicely down this hill. This is where the fun part of the course starts. Still very difficult, still a lot of gaps you got to hit, but much less taxing than the first 8 holes.
And this is looking like a great line there from Paul, continuing to just keep the heat on.
Yeah, just still lacing lines, hitting gaps, playing clean golf, making the putts when he needs to. Recipe for success on pretty much any course. This one is pulled from Gavin. We will see how far that kicks into the woods. Could be a very difficult up and down for par.
calling for it to flip. Didn't get as much turn as he wanted, but it looks like it stayed in the middle of the fairway. Should be easy up and down for par.
Yeah, this gap, even though it looks fairly large from where the camera is positioned, from where the tee is, it kind of shapes nicely for like a baby flex shot like you saw Paul throw. This one is going for more of the turnover line from Tanner. Doesn't quite have enough height to get all the way to the green, but he should have just a short jump putt and up and down for a par.
Yeah, this is tricky for Cunningham. He's confident to with that big turnover. And honestly, good golly, what a shot.
Slides it all the way up. What a great save. That was wild.
Checks up for par save for Fleck. And this is a terrifying putt.
Yeah, there's no way he's running this one. That is 60-footer, nothing behind. Not worth it. Happy to take the par on that one.
Here's the preferred angle. Getting your drive just a little bit long, so your birdie look is uphill instead of downhill.
Paul straddling again. Definitely comfortable with it at this point in this round. And able to connect on yet another birdie. So 4 under through 9 for Paul, the only player on our feature card. Really making moves. Gavin also trying to hang around, but Paul's just been so consistent. Just keeps scoring well.
What a par save.
Yeah, that was a big one to keep him at 3 under for the round, 5 under for the tournament. As we take a look at our halfway point, Paul Krans still leading the way on this card. We'll take a look at the overall leaderboard in a second, but I would be very surprised if anybody is keeping up with him.
Yeah, some hot rounds out there from Axel, and Jesse shooting well here in the woods as well. It's still a really tight race there in the middle of the field.
Yeah, a lot of golf still to come as we take a look at our disc golf trivia question of the round. What year did Brewster Ridge Disc Golf Course open? Oh man, I know this place has been around for a while, so if you know, let us know in the comments below. We'll give you the answer over on the back 9.
See you there.